Yes, so hi everyone. Welcome to the new year, the so-called 2023, or is that 2023, the old way we used to say it. I hope that you're all well. I know that a couple of you haven't been well, and so wish you speedy recovery and continued healing, okay, until you're thoroughly healed. But now just take it easy and do what your doctors tell you to do. Nothing more, nothing less. Do what your Dharma teacher tells you to do. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay, so we do the chanting straight away, and then obviously meditations, Dharma Talk, etc., etc. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Mani Padme Tayata Gati Gati Parasungati Buddhiso Tayata Gati Gati Parasungati Buddhiso Tayata Gati Gati Parasungati Buddhiso. So now rejoice in the fact that we engaged in the chanting. Really be happy with yourself. And then rejoice in the rejoicing. And then dedicate it to all living beings. And then rejoice in that. Very important to rejoice in your good deeds, in your practice. And then at the same time, when we make mistakes, important to recognize them, have positive regret and a resolve not to repeat them again. Now, the rejoicing is really important, okay? So now bring your mind to your body and let's release the tension from the body, if you have any. Starting at the tips of the toes, then working your way up the body, up the legs, the upper torso to the shoulders, down to the tips of your fingers, and then up to the top of your head. So now do this. Take a few moments to do so. Once you've done this, you can just scan your body one more time to see if there's any leftover tension that you can release. And when this is completed, bring your mind to your breathing. Initially, the tip of your nose as you breathe in your nose, all the way into your lungs, and then back out your nose again. So focus on the feeling of the breath as you breathe in and out. And like I always say, it's all you have to do right now. In fact, it's all we have to do from moment to moment is breathe. Breathing in, breathing out. Just for the moment, let's focus on the following instruction. You breathe in wisdom and understanding. Breathe out ignorance and delusion. And have an inner smile. Breathe in generosity and non-attachment. And breathe out attachment and greed and the like. Breathe in patience, loving kindness, and compassion. And breathe out anger and hatred, dislike. Breathe in positivity, inner smile. Breathe out any negativity. And now focus on just the breathing. Of course, you can add the extra technique now of counting the breaths from 1 to 10, and then back to 1 again. 1 breath, 1 out breath, and 1 in breath is 1, and so forth. But if you get distracted while you're counting towards 10, go back to 1 at that time. Don't count past 10, because we don't want the counting to be the focus. So as you're focusing on your breath, if thoughts arise or any mental activity arises, don't cling to it. Don't grasp at it. Don't try to force it away or deny it. Instead, let it go naturally by replacing the mind back onto the breath. And if your mind becomes sleepy or dull, then wake it up a little bit by focusing on the breath more brightly. So let's practice like this in silence now for some moments, some minutes. Not too tight, not too loose. So now we can feel very happy with ourselves and fill ourselves with universal loving kindness. You can utilize the visualization of filling your whole being with the white light, or if you prefer, white nectar, or if you prefer, just the feeling is fine as well. The feeling is of utmost importance. Feeling of loving kindness, friendship. You fill yourself with so much loving kindness generated from your own heart. You are your own best friend. And now also radiate this loving kindness outwards. Initially to your family and friends, filling them with the loving kindness too, and wishing that they are happy, free from suffering, and are peaceful. Now also includes strangers, wishing them likewise. And even those people that you may find very difficult or even regard as enemies. May all of these people be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. And fill all of them with the universal loving kindness and friendship. And now let's extend this loving kindness out further and further distance-wise, initially around your immediate area, to all of the living beings, not just humans now. To all of the living beings that live in the waters, live on the lands, fly through the air. Whatever physical shape they may take or have, whatever habits they have, lifestyle, etc. Extend this loving kindness to all of these living beings. And now radiate further and further still throughout your whole state or county. And then gradually other states and counties throughout your whole country. And other countries throughout the whole world. Initially those you have an affinity towards, and then also those that you're indifferent towards, and those that you may have some sort of negative feelings towards, until your loving kindness pervades throughout all of the countries in this world, and now throughout all of the oceans, and even all the way down into the core of the earth, the center of the earth, and to the outermost atmosphere. And your loving kindness pervades all of this planet and also fills all of the innumerable living beings that abide here, bringing them happiness, helping them to be free from suffering, and to be peaceful. Now radiate your loving kindness throughout the whole solar system, and continue to radiate further and further and further throughout the whole galaxy. Throughout the whole universe, until your loving kindness, this infinite, immeasurable loving kindness, pervades throughout infinite space, whilst also being present here and now. And we will recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May thy born have no decline, but increase forevermore. So, like I said, a few of you haven't been well, and all of us will wish that you recover very quickly and take good care. I know that I think maybe 2 of you have actually taken part today. Okay, so, and a couple of others maybe not at the moment. So it's supposedly the new year, like I said before. And you know how I feel about these things. Something ends, 2022 ended, became 2023. So when something ends, it becomes something else. And this is the same with all phenomena, including our thoughts, including our attitudes, mental states, as well as physical things like our bodies, other people's bodies, other creatures' bodies, and inanimate objects, largest throughout what we know in the universe and beyond, and even the smallest, tiniest dust mote that we can not perceive with our eyes, not perceive actually with our mind even, how small or how large these physical bodies may be, but they're always changing, always turning into something else, even if they look the same for a long, long period of time. And so for the new year, I'll share a few things with you, because there was some questions that I did get asked over this 3 weeks holiday that we had, whatever that is. Then I thought I'd address these questions, once again, grouping them under some subjects for the next 2 to 3 weeks, as I mentioned before the break. Okay, so the first one is, do Buddhists recognize the new year? And I jokingly answered, but seriously as well, that Buddhists are very lucky because we have lots of New Years. That we have the Western New Year now that Buddhism is practiced, a fair bit throughout the Western world. Then we have what we know as the Chinese or the Vietnamese and so on. In other words, the lunar calendar New Year, which comes-ish around about February. And then, of course, you have the Buddha's birthday. Some Buddhist countries celebrate on this Vesak day. And so we have that one too, and maybe there's even more. So New Year, I said to them, or wrote to them, that this proves that this is nothing new, actually. We say Happy New Year, bye-bye last year, but actually it's really just a continuum, both from the point of view of mentality and physicality, So I won't go any more into that, because if you want to hear what I have to say about these types of things more, you can review the class from the 17th of December, either on the YouTube channel or by scrolling on Facebook. And so there was that one. Then another one was, do you recognize Christmas? And of course I said, well, actually, this is not a Buddhist holiday or a period, but there's many Western Buddhists, for instance, that may get together with family, because maybe their families were Christian initially or something like that. And of course, the Buddhists should have respect for the other traditions, even if we have different beliefs. But no, not really, I said. Myself, it's a time of year used to, my family obviously coming from Wales initially, and then we moved to Australia. Of course, we did recognize this Christmas time. And it really is, it's another day that we can get together and enjoy each other's company. Years ago, of course, I used to earn double pay on Christmas days and New Year's days and Eves playing music. So, that's really how I spent the time during those periods. But yeah, I mean, we should respect all of the traditions, not just the Christian tradition around that time, the Jewish tradition too, with Hanukkah. That's somebody's name, isn't it? But Hanukkah, So I think it's pronounced that way. And also the other traditions, the Muslim tradition, the Hindu tradition, and so on and so forth. Okay, all of the different religions, when they have their special days, if we do know about them, then this should give rise to respect and appreciation, gratitude to our fellow human beings that are, practicing their religion, or even non-religious people. Maybe they have special days too, the New Year and so forth. We should develop a lot of respect. At the same time, reflect, self-reflect, see what it is we can improve on, and see what it is we're doing well and where we can increase. I think that's really important. So I basically, through answering these questions, I share this with you. When I was teaching, I think for about 4 years in a row, or maybe 3 years, the Vietnamese, Australian and New Zealand Vietnamese Association or something like that, the end of year retreats, where I was asked to come in to be one of the teachers for the young adults, teenagers, and sometimes the children even. And because of course, their language, their first language, most of them would have been English. Anyway, we were asked a question. We had a panel. Part of it was teachers giving Dharma talks, but also having a panel and doing Q&As. So we were asked a question about this Christmas thing. Anyway, on this panel, there was one Vietnamese master from Vietnam, and then the Australian master, and myself. Okay, so the Australian master said that yes, he celebrates it, and that's got to do with him and his family being, Christian. So obviously, the Vietnamese master said, no, we don't. I myself took the middle path and said, actually, I don't, but we can, no problem. But then I gave some more details as well to make sure you don't get involved in the greed, in the consumerism that I mentioned in the previous class. Okay, so I just thought I'd share that with you. The main sort of queries that I answered, and these relate to these ones that I've just mentioned as well, and I've grouped them under two things. Okay, so one is positive change. For the new places or times like the New Year, we tend to make a resolution to change something for the positive or to give something up. Okay, so some of these or questions I'm going to answer under this positive change, and also consistent improvement. So under these. Now, all of this can come under impermanence or anicca, but we've already spoken about that a lot, in different classes, and it continues to be mentioned, of course, but I won't put it under that title. Okay, so remember that impermanence, a lot of the time we think of impermanence as, oh no, our happiness goes away. Oh, this life comes to an end. We die one day. Or I'm really well right now, but maybe I won't be well always. Always thinking of the negative, or often thinking of the negative. But this also includes positive. Because we have this impermanence, it means we can change, have positive change. We can consistently improve ourselves by doing what I mentioned before. Realizing the things that we need to improve on and purifying ourselves from them. If we're acting upon anger, for instance, decrease that eventually to eradicate it. Quite often when we act upon anger, we are reacting to not getting what we want, or losing what we think we want, or getting what we don't want, and so on. Even when you have the thoughts of being bored, like I'm bored or something is boring, quite often you give rise to this state of mind because you're not getting what you want. Or maybe your mind is so busy, but there's not much happening around you. Like I joked around a little bit about the new year, that time of the new year comes. The past is gone, the new year comes, and then you go into the future, supposedly. And at that time, people get very excited. But actually, nothing's changed. And everything's changed at the same time. So nothing really happened, but in people's minds, they pretend that something actually happened and give rise to this excitement and, self-gratification and stuff like that. Of course, some of it can be very nice because you're sharing time with friends as well. But actually, this is all made up in the mind. Okay, so if at these times you decide to change for the better, in other words, positive change, and then also practice consistently to have this happen, in other words, consistent improvement, then you can first of all maybe contemplate the past. The past is only there as good to learn from, okay? So maybe there's mistakes you made in the past, and you can do your best not to have them happen again. Maybe there's certain things you did in the past that are very, very good. Maybe you can encourage yourself to do them more often. And then, of course, anything indifferent as well. Maybe you can improve on that. Excuse me. You can improve on that by making them more meaningful. So that's a good way we can learn from the past, to contemplate or to reflect on, recognize when we have, to use a metaphor, fallen off the path, change that. Recognize when we're on the path and improve that. Really give ourselves a spiritual pat on the back. And realize when we're kind of, neither here nor there, and then actually make that more meaningful. So that's the past. We do the practice in the present. Even if we think, I practiced already in the past. No, actually, that's just a thought of you practicing in the past. Now here's the only time we have. And maybe you put it off because you're tired or something and say, I'll practice next week. But that never comes, because when next week comes, it's now the present. Okay, so we're always to practice in the present. And like I've said many times before, if you are feeling tired, then have a break. I remember reading or hearing one time His Holiness Dalai Lama said, sometimes the best meditation is sleep. If you need sleep, if you're really tired, just go to sleep. When you're more refreshed, then you can actively practice either on the cushion or off the cushion again. Okay. So sometimes you do need a break. Sometimes we need to stop and eat, but we can do so mindfully. So you can have a break mindfully, still with good awareness, clear awareness, be conscientious. The same as when you eat or you drink or doing some exercise. You can do some mindfully. That way we're practicing all the time in the present. So the future never comes. Now I'll mention this again. If we are dwelling on the past, so often we are bringing up negative feelings from the past, negative memories from the past. And of course we have positive as well, and indifferent. But if you are dwelling on the past, you are giving rise to worry. Worry, fear, and worry. Worry about what I didn't do in the past, what I should have done, and so forth, and what's going to happen in the future. And then, of course, with giving rise to this concept of the future, then you are giving rise to anxiety. You'll be anxious. So you carry these worries from the past into the present, disturbing the present, not happy, not content here in the present, peaceful, because you have brought up the past with you. And this naturally now you look at planning for the future, giving rise to anxiety. Hopes and fears and anxiety. Let's let them go. That does not mean you don't plan for things. Of course, you have to plan, but do so with as little attachment, as little aversion as possible. Whenever attachment arises and you recognize it, or aversion arises and you're acting upon that, you recognize it and you let them go. And then place your mind back into this present moment, and then continue doing what you're doing, even if that is planning, or if that is engaging in studies, worldly studies, Dharma studies. Practice to get good at worldly things, even things like sports. Practice to get better at the Dharma practice, including on the cushion in formal meditation practice, including off the cushion, practicing compassion actively, and so forth. So we can develop this. So let's use those phrases, okay? Positive change. Utilize the fact that everything is impermanent to effect positive change, to change for the better, to decrease the causes of suffering, such as ignorance, attachment, aversion, and the like. Eventually to eradicate them. Have that wish, have that aspiration. Then also to adopt and increase the causes of happiness, increase the wisdom, generosity, non-attachment, love, compassion, and the like. So continue to do this. Once again, it goes back to the Dharma practice, doesn't it? Put in one sentence what to adopt, what to abandon. In other words, what to pick up, what to put down. So often about this. This is how we continue to have positive change and then consistently improve ourselves. And some of you may have read this, some of you may have heard me say this before, but if we continue to practice consistently practice the Dharma, then we will be better today than we were yesterday. But if we continue to consistently practice the Dharma, we will be better tomorrow than we are today, even though there's no past, present, or future. Okay, that's a deal. I'm using different examples to get another message across. Okay, so and give you, I'd like to give you some confidence. You know, I have confidence in myself. I know I'm not perfect. I know I have many faults that I need to purify, and that's a good thing that I know that. I know I have good qualities too that I need to improve and increase, eventually perfect. And that's a good thing too. And I share that with you so that you yourself can also be inspired to practice like this in your own way, at your own time, at your own, using your own effort. So that's, I guess, what Dharma teachers do, isn't it? That's what bodhisattvas do. That's what Buddhas do, is they teach. But we ourselves have to put it into practice. So I guess today is Happy New Year Part 1, and dealing with these questions that have come in. Once again, I remind you, do Buddhists practice or recognize Christmas? Depends on the Buddhist, depends on their family, depends on what country they live in. But no, not really. If you do, actually look into it to see what it really is, okay? And then you can realize that maybe there's some other traditions from the past that also celebrated either on this day or close to this day. Summer solstice, winter solstice, depends on where you live in the world, north or south, and so forth, okay? The New Year, once again, different New Years, isn't there? Solar calendar New Year, lunar calendar New Year, the so-called Buddhist New Year, and other ones as well. So nothing new, nothing old, everything new, everything old, everything interconnected, interdependent. And that can be a good thing if we utilize it to affect positive change and to consistently improve ourselves. Remember that these two phrases, you could say, or headings, these are there to benefit you. If you do this, you will benefit yourself. Naturally, your wisdom will increase. You will benefit others, as your compassion naturally increases. So put into practice these two benefits of benefiting yourself and benefiting others, or vice versa. Take the mind off ourselves, benefit others and benefit self. The two benefits. Also, this can be known as developing this bodhicitta and working our way to realizing the supreme wisdom. So we're under 1 minute. I hope you've enjoyed today's class. For those of you not feeling well, I like once again, hopefully you are improve consistently now. Everybody else, please stay healthy, okay? Stay well. We are in the midst of this pandemic, and not a lot of information is getting out there. And there's a lot of uncontrolled transmission out there at the moment, unfortunately. So be very, very careful, okay? But don't be paranoid. Just do with a clear mind, be cautious, and look after yourselves and help others to look after themselves too. I rejoice in your goodness, as always. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dharmaya.